have a full house, we'll go ahead and do the city council meeting. We'll join this evening for Monday night, June 10th. If everyone would please join me in standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and then remain standing for invocation tonight brought by Councilman Thompson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before your throne of grace boldly but humbly, and we thank you for how you care for us, and especially during this last storm, we thank you for your care. And for those who suffered damage and those who had loss, please be with them, and please continue to watch after them, and show us where we can help. And Father, we pray that you just be with them. Father, we pray that you be with us as leaders of the city, as we represent the people. Lead us and guide us. Father, we ask for your direction. We ask for your presence tonight and for your blessing upon us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
We'll go ahead and get started this evening with our consent agenda. Right after our opportunity for citizens to address the City Council about items not on tonight's agenda. This is an opportunity for those of you here in the audience to address the City Council in the open meeting, and the City Council will evaluate those concerns and address them on a future agenda as necessary. So those of you who would like to stand and address the City Council, please step up to the podium and state your name and address.
My name is Heidi Brenner, 13930 Woodend Road. I'm here to address the special use permit that was written for the event center that's directly to the west of me, and the concerns that we have. I've looked over the special use permit that you guys put together, and I believe probably Don Sloan was a big part of this. And the biggest thing that I want to find out is why none of the residents' concerns were as requirements in the special use permit. The only thing in there is the hours of operations for weeknights and weekends. And then it says for holidays, may extend the hours. It's not even cut and dry as far as what those hours. But none of our concerns about, there's no mention, our concerns were noise control outside the venue. There's nothing in there that they have to adhere to what they agreed to as far as saying that there would not be any noise outside the venue. They haven't agreed to that, and obviously they don't have to because it's not the special use permit. These, I would like to present you with this, Mr. Mayor. Beer cans that are thrown on my property that were there. I left them there, and you can include that as entered into, enter into evidence.
I'll make note that you presented those.
Yes, and I left them there. They were thrown out onto my property just as soon as they exit their property and cross onto mine. And I was kind enough to let them sit there for a week, which drove me crazy, but I thought, maybe I'll just see if they at least have the decency and the courtesy to pick them up. Nothing. They stayed there a week, so I finally picked them up this weekend. And that's not, I'm going to start saving them and bringing them to the meeting. The traffic leaving the venue, they put the exit sign back up to right turn only, but nobody's adhering to that. And they don't have to. There's no guard there. They said that they would post a security guard there, that they would have the security guard on site to monitor traffic control, to have them exit out through onto over to 142nd Street. It's just a steady stream of traffic that comes in down Woodend Road. And so, and another one of my concerns is that apparently Don Sloan has made a comment that he doesn't know why, if the residents are unhappy, why don't they just sell? And to me, that is very offensive. That is incredibly offensive to me. That I know, I don't think he's a council member, but it's kind of like that was his last hurrah to stick it to us.
Unfortunately, Mr. Sloan's no longer with the
city.
He was employed as a...
I know, as a city planner, but that's incredibly offensive to me that a member of the city that I love and that we're trying to be good citizens of and good residents would have the audacity to say, well, if they're not happy, why don't they sell? When he did absolutely nothing to help us with this thing. Everything that those owners promised, like I've said before, they're just sticking it to you guys, which really bothers me because you guys are trying your hardest. And they're sticking it to us, the residents, because none of our concerns were in that. So the next thing we need to do is figure out how to get that special use permit rewritten. And I will be here at every meeting, and I think I've mentioned before, I know city clerks and other areas around here because we do audits. My firm does audits of the cities. And so I'm learning about special use permit, how it works. And so that's the next thing we need to do is to figure out how we get this special use permit rewritten, fixed, whatever we need to do to hold these people accountable because they're not going away and I'll be damned if I'm going away. I want to coexist with them. We've tried to be good neighbors, but it's just not working, and it's not working because they don't have to. And unfortunately, maybe it was written with the fact that we'll put the hours in and hopefully they'll be good neighbors, but they're just not. They're not. They're in it for themselves. They go to their homes in Johnson County and they don't care about our little city. And that's what I have to say. So I'll be, maybe at the next meeting, find out what you guys have found out as far as how to fix the special use permit, and that would be great. I know Rachel can't do anything. It's going to be up to you guys and to us to work with you guys to make this happen.
We'll see how we can address your concerns.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, I'm Carol Meir. I am at 326 West 2nd Street here in Bonner. We moved to Bonner about a year ago from West Shawnee, Johnson County area. And, with, the thought that from the people that we knew, don't move to Bonner. Bonner's nasty, right? Bonner doesn't care. The city doesn't do anything for you. And we thought, no, we really like that town. It looks cute little town. We thought, oh, this is going to be good for us, going to be good for, our kids. And, I felt like the city was a little bit more diverse than Shawnee. I know that my son has enjoyed his time in school here, better than he had in Shawnee. And it was a couple of months after we were here when the rain started, and we were told, I went to the city, and for the life of me, I can't think of the lady's name right now, but she took over for Dawn. Super nice lady, like her first couple of days in, and I talked to her about the dirt street that aligned my home and my neighbor's home. We were told that it was just an easement, that's it. There was nothing that the city was going to do. I said, well, we have an issue. There's a lot of mud, rain, there's no drainage. The easement that's right across from us is totally blacktopped and is nice. There was no street sign on there. Actually, nobody knew that it was a street. We pulled up the plot, the parcel, all the information that the city had, and it's an actual street. It's Charlotte and 2nd. So I called again and I said, hey, it's raining right now. We probably need to send somebody over here. It's completely mudded. Came out of my driveway and I head down the back of my driveway to get onto Charlotte, and it's completely filled with mud. So our tires are going into the ground, and as we're going down, we can slide right into the face of our neighbor's garage doors. And so we have to creep out of our driveway to go down Charlotte Road. So me and my husband decided we're going to go down to the Bonner gravel company, and we got about 8 tons of gravel, and we laid it with our own tractor and tried to fill in all of the areas where it was too low and the water was sitting, and for one, so I don't tear my neighbor's garage down, and 2, so we can get out of our driveway and not be filled with mud. That didn't work. My neighbor called, I called, we were just short of posting it on Facebook of pictures of what this looked like. It looked like a mudslide. And then we had, the tornado came through. And it tore our backyard and all of our telephone poles and everything down. We didn't have electricity for a couple of days. The city people not the city, the electric company came out really quick. They put them up within those 2 days, new poles, new everything. And I even called and said those poles were leaning and nothing had been done. The electric people that came down couldn't get in our street. It was so muddy. Where they tried to put the poles up, the tires went halfway into the mud. So they were stuck. They had to go out and then take off backwards as fast as they could just to get down that easement. And they left massive ruts in that area. So this is an ongoing issue. Even though that I've called, I've sat down with the city planner, tried to find ways to get that street. I will say they put a sign up now and it actually says Charlotte in second and
As well as a stop sign.
and a stop sign, but nothing else. There's no drains for us to be able to have the water go elsewhere. It literally sits in that street. And so I would like for the council to look at improving that easement so that we can actually drive to our driveway and not fear, running into other people's cars or their houses just because the road is not in a drivable shape. The other thing is that they came out and poured some leftover maybe gravel from another job or something, but they just keep building it up. And as it rains, it just makes it more, it just continues to be filled with mud and it's not helping the situation. It needs to be blacktop. But the bigger piece is to be able to dig out what's there before you lay more blacktop, because now it's so high when we drive, the neighbor's garage is underground now. Because we've been packing it with so much trying to fix the problem. That's all I've got.
Thank you, I appreciate that, we'll certainly check into it. Others?
My name is Corey Holt, and I live off of 200 West 2nd Street. I'm actually Carol's neighbor, and I'm the one with the garage issue. I've been suffering a lot, basically since the road, since about 12 inches or about a foot or more higher than my garage, and the waters, or I guess the lack of drainage, has caused all the water from that roadway to basically funnel towards my garage and just flood my entire garage. And so
We spent hours shoveling mud out of his garage, and therefore a vehicle that he can't get in and out on his father. I've also put some money towards a preventive drainage system to try to help on his property side, because we were told that the city didn't have time, really all they could do was add gravel, and then after his persistent phone calls, they were told that it was his property and he needed to do something himself. So Corey and I have worked out, obviously a relationship, loaned him some money, and there's been some drain socks and some gravel laid in a gully and a drain grate right in front of his garage. But yet, like he said, the roadway is substantially higher. The challenge I guess I have as a parent trying to encourage a young man to grow and develop a family or whatever he'd like to do in this city is that he has tried to do the right thing and yet has fallen upon deaf ears, or so it seems. We've also tried to do the things, as Carol mentioned, that to try to do some preventative as well. But the challenge is that it's not just Carol and Corey that are using this road. There's 2 or 3 other homes that round that corner and go up the back side. And then, so there's more than just 2 taxpayers using that roadway or access path. So the question is, one, what changed that all of a sudden the road got a street sign and a stop sign? And if that's the case, and it is a city street now, why is it not properly maintained, plowed during the winter, proper drainage, and or helping a homeowner that wants to do the right thing to better and improve his home and better and improve the city, and is trying to approach the council with some means of help or support? I understand budgets are budgets, but he was told numerous times that that's not in the budget and that would be hundreds of thousands of dollars and that's just not anything they're going to do. So it becomes pretty frustrating for a young man that's bought his first home in your city and wants to do right. But as Carol has mentioned, there's been numerous times that vehicles have come really close to damaging his property or to just making it worse because there's a number of people using that. The next step I suggested to Corey was that maybe you get a petition with 4 or 5 of the neighbors, but we thought we'd start here with, speaking to the council to understand how the city now has been named that road, a street sign was put in, a stop sign was put in, but if you look at 2nd Street, the way the water flows from, is it Nettleton, Corey?
2nd Street.
Well, 2nd Street, but up the hill from you is Nettleton connects to 2nd Street.
Right.
All of the water runs down that road, mostly for the most part to the south side of that road and along a curb. And what does it do? It comes into the first open space, which is where the gravel access to these folks' roadway is. So you have hundreds of feet of paved road running down the hill into the first open access, which is the gravel access to his garage, to their backyard, to their driveway, and now 2 other folks are using that, if not 3, if I'm not correct, David and Carol. So it's become a point of frustration, but also something that he has tried to do what he could by having some as I guess, irrigation work done that we spent a couple $1,000s doing, and we're still having a problem because that's going to fill up with mud if something's not done properly.
I appreciate that. This is the first that we're becoming aware of it. So I thank you for your concerns, and we'll certainly check into it. I don't know.
Please.
I don't have a plan. I don't have a correction.
I'm sorry, I overrode. Please tell them how many phone calls you made and who you spoke
You
with.
guys, obviously, I believe Matt Beats is your guys' street superintendent, am I correct? It was actually about 8 months ago, my first call to him was about, drainage issues among this street. Since it was declared as a street and not an easement, it was, the city's responsibility to take care of, the drainage, irrigation, responsibility for, water. And he basically said, and I was actually ironically home at the time, and he said he would go by and take a look. He drove in, drove back out, called me 30 minutes later and said, there's nothing we can do, it's your issue. And so, over that time, I took the initiative and, I ended up putting a drain in. And so, but it's a public road, and so, the water that's from the public road, not my roadway, but, the city of Bonners, is, causing me issues. And it's not just, if it was my driveway, I understand, but it's not my driveway, it's a road. It's a road that provides access to my house, my neighbor's house, and 2 houses above that, or north or east of that. So, and at that point, the worst part is obviously when it rains, but after the rain, the gravel and the ground is soft, and so everybody rounds that corner and it creates ruts everywhere and mud, and the amount of gravel they put down will not alleviate that issue. The more and more gravel they put, the higher it gets. The roadway gets higher, my garage gets lower. My question is at one point, my garage is probably level with the roadway. And over the years of
There was a permit issued to build the garage
Yeah,
before you owned.
Yeah, at some point there was, because this house previously didn't have a garage. And so, at some point there was a permit to build that garage. And most people would look at it, and a roadway that's higher than a driveway or slants in would not be approved because you would have an immense amount of water entering that garage. So at some point that driveway was level with the roadway. But over time, with them trying to alleviate or band-aid fix the issue with adding more gravel, has created, many layers of gravel on top of that. So then all of a sudden you get my driveway that's a lot lower than the roadway, and I get all the water.
It's not just, it doesn't sound as if it's all of a sudden, but it does sound as if we do need to look at it.
It's not all of a sudden, but it's over time. And I have pictures.
You've only lived there for a year, though.
Hey, Corey, what's your address again? 400 West 2nd Street.
And part of the challenge, Mary, is that it's also created some water issues in his yard, which now has created water issues in his basement.
Because a traditional household can accept, a substantial amount of water. But when I'm getting water from the roadway that's just east of me, and the roadway that runs alongside the long part of my house, which is, the Charlotte. When all that water is not properly routed and it runs basically towards my house really can't sustain that much water. And so, ironically, the first time I spoke with Matt Beats, I tried getting a hold of him months later to kind of figure out a way to address the issue, and I would not receive phone calls back from him. I'd be basically told they would basically leave a message with him and he'd get back to me. I never heard back from him. Sent an email out to him, including photos of, obviously during rainstorms and in days, if not weeks after rainstorms, of what the ground looked like. And he not once replied to my email. I even forwarded to him a couple months later, thinking that maybe he was busy, maybe he's on vacation or something. I'll forward it to him because maybe it got lost. I forwarded it, he never responded. And it's been about a year now that from the initial point that I contacted him, and he has never once reached out to me. And I've always called, and they said, yeah, we'll leave him a message, he'll get back to you.
So that's why we're here today, Corey. Ultimately, we need you guys to come to some decision.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
Cindy Carter, 13933 Wood End Road, and I'm here also for the same reason that Heidi Brenner is. Sheila is actually a little bit closer to the venue than my home is. I'm kind of catty corner across the street. I'm not, like wanting the venue shut down, but I have a problem with the special use permit, the fact that there were not, there's really no guidelines for them. I'll be sitting in my living room, and not only do I hear the music, I can feel the music. And no one should have to put up with that in their home. I think there is a way for them to still have music without it being that loud, so that it's disturbing both of us. We were there a long time before they were, and our little narrow road also. Friday they had an event, and I just happened to be leaving the time that was starting, and there was car after car after car coming down to the trailer court up Wood End, which, it's a public road. I realize that people are going to do that, but there's no center line. You have all these people on their cell phone talking to people because they probably don't know where they're going. So I just think that for me, mainly the noise is an issue. And we tried to address that before, and nobody listened. And so I don't know if there's some way to amend it, or go back and add some sort of protection for us.
Well, I'll certainly find out what the options are concerning that. However, I do want you to know we are listening. We may not be able to do everything that we'd like to do, but I do want you to know you're being heard. So I appreciate that.
I'd like to find out what our recourse is.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys didn't put your earplugs in and get tired of listening.
No, please.
I'm Mickey Helton, 13840 Wood End. And what I'd like to say is most of you people up here I've known for quite a few years. And basically, if I told you I was going to do something, I would try my best because I gave you my word. But undoubtedly, in this process here, if you remember when we first went down to the Planning Commission, they told us that they didn't even need to listen to us before they could vote on that. And so, I guess like I say, in their opinion, it was a wasted time. And then when we had our meeting with Mark and all of them, we was told what they would do about directing traffic and the noise. I don't hear it, but thank heavens I know Heidi does, and the people across the street, she might have told you, that on the other side of Wood End, 142nd Street, they live quite a ways up there, and the lady told me that she could hear it, and she thought it was a high school band.
In our house, in our homes, we're here.
Anyway, I had a friend that had a niece that got married down there, and when he went in, Jerry's like me, he's up there in his middle 70s, and so he don't hear too good. But anyway, he said that they wasn't a band, but just playing the jukebox. And he said it was extremely loud because as he said, the acoustics in there it was high ceiling. And I don't know that much about acoustics really. I mean, I can't even spell it, so why do I know anything about it? But I was just wondering if, when Heidi is having a problem that's like that, is there any way that they could come out maybe to her house on an evening and listen? Or have some way, they've got these things where they measure the sound levels? And like I say, I don't know, I haven't personally been in the building. It's a beautiful building, and like I say, when they was going to have, as Heidi said, the security, when I asked them about that last year, they said, oh, I told you, they said, City Hall said all we had to do is have a just right-hand turn only. That's not going to do no good, because they told us at the meeting there would be a security guard down there that would direct it out to 142nd Street. And I've talked to Mark a couple times. It's been I've had no problem. I still like the gentleman, but I don't take, if somebody tells me they're going to do something, if their word don't mean nothing, then, if it's not in writing, I won't believe it. But like I say, if there's some way that somebody from here could perhaps go down, and if they could get somebody to see what the noise level was or something, and maybe go down and take a quick tour of it or something. Like I said, I haven't been in it, so I can't tell you that, but like I say, I just hope there's something, because what they told us and what they've done, two different things. And so, like I say, I hope that if the council ever issues another permit again, that they would get in writing who said and what they was going to do, because I think it could be a big help. And I promise you, I won't be back up here no more to complain about it. I'll let Heidi take care of that.
Mr. Bill, I appreciate you coming, and you're welcome anytime. There are concerns for the council and the city on a lot of different issues around this. So I'll go in and specifically check on these things and get back to you, all of you on that. Sir?
My name is Brian Wagner. I live at 421 Chiley. My concerns is I want the council, Sean, everybody, you guys need to thank the police department, fire department, EMS, Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department, Kansas Highway Patrol. They did an awesome job. The emergency management did an awesome job for the sirens, for the storm that we had. The sirens went off plenty of time to notify everybody. They did a tremendous job. Yes, there was way too many people out on K7. When I was coming in from Kansas City, Kansas to get home, way too many people on I-78. But they did a tremendous job. Yes, our public works did clean the streets off to make it safe for people to get through. There has been residents throw limbs out in the streets, okay, and we was told that the city wasn't going to pick up tree limbs this time. Okay, then after Public Works had cleaned up, I'm not going to name streets, but residents been putting tree limbs out in the middle of the street after Public Works had cleaned the streets. Something needs to be done about these streets. Okay, if they're not going to be picking up tree limbs, there needs to be something done about that area.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just saying, me and my kids has been picking up limbs. Some of these people cannot afford picking up the limbs because they're on the budget. All I gotta say is, there's gonna be a lot of people upset if the city is going to pick up limbs. There's been residents spend a lot of money picking up limbs already. But now, if you guys decide to pick up limbs, you guys need to look about writing tickets to people who've been putting limbs out in the middle of the streets. They could be putting them in yards.
Safety concern. I appreciate that, Mr. Wagner, and I appreciate everyone's help and all the excellent work that all the emergency services did concerning the tornado. We were blessed to not have more damage than we did. The city has a contract with our waste management contract that will allow us to put bundles of tree limbs out at the trash at curbside and at curbside pickup. The last storm that you're referencing about 3 years ago, we did go through the entire city and pick up limbs, debris. We were under an area that had, the majority of the properties had storm damage. Fortunately, this last time, our minority of properties had significant storm damage with tree limbs. So we're trying to work through this as best we can. The city is still working through clearing stormways, drainage ways, and trying to be prepared for the next storm that comes through. So I appreciate your concern. The areas that still have some of the streets that have debris on them have been left by individuals, and a lot of the individuals have been able to take care of their own storm debris on their own yard on private property, and that's probably that's very admirable of them. Those that aren't able to do that, I don't, other than the contract we have with our waste management, there's also the availability to have those limbs dropped off on Park Drive in Kansas City, Kansas, or taken to the dump. So we do have accommodations. It may not be because of the limited amount of impact across the entire city able to be done citywide, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Please. Yeah.
I'm going to cover something at the end with what the minister was doing. If there is anybody that cannot, because of age or finances, clear their limbs, give me a call. We're working with coordinating. The reason I'm saying this now, and I'm out of order with this, but usually I'm going to cover this at the end of the meeting. Usually nobody stays. But this is what the churches, they're in the middle of trying to do this, help and get integrated into the community. And I've got some information about that. So my point is, if there's somebody that cannot, give me a call. That cannot remove limbs, we'll make sure that's taken care of. And it's going to be the churches and volunteers and people coming together. Okay? So people that can't and the elderly. Okay?
Wait, okay, yes.
Mr. Wagner, I really appreciate you coming and saying what you did. And there's something that a lot of times people don't realize. There has been an email blast from the city, but unfortunately, there's only 400 people in our city that have signed up for that. Okay. There has also been flyers available here at the rec center. I have personally put out a flyer that gave information as to what families could do at least 4 or 5 times on Facebook, and I realize not everybody is on Facebook. What it boils down to is Mayor Harrington said that you can go in on Park Drive in KCK and drop off tree limbs there. Deffenbaugh also will allow 1 pickup truck a week of tree limbs and stuff dropped off at their site for free. We also have let people know that limbs can be bundled up, as Mayor Harrington referred, by Deffenbaugh, can be picked up at your house, and the bundles have to be no more than 50 pounds, no longer than 4 feet. But we still have people taking their limbs out of their yard and walking over and putting them in the street, and then commenting that we're not doing a very good job. And the thing is they're not, and they could call down here to City Hall too, and I've checked. And I said, have you been getting a lot of calls? And they said, no. But I appreciate you coming up here and saying this, because as much as we would like, we are not capable of doing everything. We can't walk on people's private property and take their limbs, but why are they putting their limbs off their private property on public streets? And I realize there are some that are not able to do that, they're, for whatever reasons, and that's where the Ministerial Alliance is working very hard to do that. But people need to know that we have done all that we can, short of doing it. And the reason that we did it last year, as Mary Harrington referred, was the amount of, just things that, devastation throughout the city. But the thing was, is the cost to our city in help and using our staff and everything else, plus renting chippers and stuff.
Well, we were able to minimize the impact to the city general fund last time by a FEMA grant that helped with the disaster recuperation. So those FEMA grants, although have been approved for the area, our area was not privy to that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can. If there's anyone else that'd like to stand and address the city council? Anyone else?
Just say one thing in regards to the email blast. I looked at your website to try to understand and made the phone call and found out about Park Drive, but there was nothing on the website that I could find easily about how to address either one of these folks' concern about what to do with limbs, what to do with tree limbs. So just a suggestion, maybe after a storm of substantial damage to even part of your city, maybe put it on a temporary basis on the front page of just, the Bonner Springs, website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, just real quick, there's lots of businesses that want to do community service, and, we had a group of kids and our son and his friends that went out to Linwood and helped the whole city pull out their appliances and things like that. As a community, why can't we, ask for help like that? Volunteers to come and help clean up all this and take those trips to the dump, or to that place in Parkville where, what is it, Park Drive?
Park Drive.
Yeah, to clean up the city. Tons of companies want to do these types of volunteer things. We just got to get it out there.
Mayor?
Mr. Hilton?
Yeah, the place down on Park Drive is open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 till 3.
Right.
And
there
they
is
got-
information
They got
on the
plenty
city
of room
website
down
now.
there. I've taken 4 truckloads down.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes the minutes from the May 28th meeting, claims for city operation, public housing authority claims, and massage therapy license renewal. Anything to be pulled by city council? Citizens? City staff? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Stevens?
Yes.
Gurley? Yes. Wood?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to a regular agenda meeting. Regular meeting agenda, sorry. Item number 1, our Parks and Recreation Master Plan acceptance. Staff?
Really quickly, this is just an acceptance of the master plan that was presented at the last council meeting. This is just needed in order to finalize the project, to officially accept the master plan by the city council. Happy to answer any questions, and Jesse is also here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Would you entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the Park and Recreation Master Plan as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start down here. Sure.
Oh, I'm fine.
That was a wonderful presentation, too.
Yeah, I agree. The master plan itself looks very nice, and it's well supported on the city's website. Seeing no other questions or concerns from the citizens? Vote please.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurley? Yes. Reeves?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to agenda item number 2, the wastewater master plan acceptance. Staff?
Similar to the last item, this is a master plan that was developed specifically for wastewater, sanitary, sewer. Presented to council over 2 meetings. Last one was tabled due to the recent events, weather related. So again, we are asking for this project to be finalized, the city council formally accept the master plan.
Good. Nothing else to add? Anything from the citizens concerning the master plan for wastewater? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the wastewater master plan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments, starting over here. Sir?
Good here.
Seeing none, vote please.
Gurley? Yes. Thompson?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to item number 3, our purchasing policy.
The attached policy has been developed by city staff to provide greater clarity and transparency for the procurement of goods and services by the city. When used properly, procedures established within this policy will empower city staff to obtain needed materials, equipment, supplies, and services efficiently and economically. This policy does not answer all the questions related to purchasing, however, but it does provide the foundation for a sound centralized purchasing system. We're looking for a motion to approve the governing body policy 19-01.
Thank you. Anything to add from the citizens' concerns? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve governing body policy 1901.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start over here this time.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Sorry, I was reading. It was refreshing. I read this a few days ago. No questions.
It was detailed.
Sean, I had a question on that. Within the policy, it was written that we do try to put a focus on buying local. Could we potentially, this is somewhat sarcastic, but underline that and have some sort of instance of like explanation as to why local wasn't used if it goes outside that?
Yeah, I think the way that it's worded is simply that it's a policy of the city of Bonner Springs to purchase within the city when possible, and it's the responsibility of the department head to evaluate the merits of the purchasing policy. So you'll see different instances where people will put somewhat, and I'll be honest, arbitrary sort of percentages of 10%, 15, 20, you name it. So again, I think it gets back to, again, empowering the department head to make that decision. So if it does come into question that there was a better option, again, this policy makes it clear that that should be evaluated. So again, I don't want to overcomplicate it to have more paperwork, just simply to have paperwork. But again, the point being that the department head has that responsibility to at least ensure that that purchasing locally has been evaluated, and they will make that call.
Okay. The reason that sparked my interest in it was I've been watching the register, and we've got a lot of Lowe's purchases. And I understand that it's easier to probably go and get everything, but if we could try and use Vesta Lee bushes since they do lumber, and even if we aren't, then go to the Wyandotte County Lowe's as opposed to
We have a True Value up here, don't we?
True Value as well. Because I know those locations, like the Shawnee and the Wyandotte County Lowe's are nearly the same distance from lumber. And as you said, True Value, they don't have lumber, so I realize that.
Yeah, and it's typically, again, if we can get it locally, we do that. Usually if it's going to Lowe's, it's because of different types of appliances and things like that. A lot of the Lowe's is actually a public housing authority, uses that quite a bit just because, again, the nature of that beast is that they're dealing with, apartment units that they're having to rebuild basically every so often. So, but again, yeah, we have accounts set up at Vesely, True Value, and we try to do that as practical.
With our asphalt purchases, I noticed, I don't remember which purchasing it was, which category it was in, but I know that there was something that got repaid recently as $4,000 or $5,000 worth of asphalt. We bought all of it from Kansas City, Missouri.
Metro. Yeah, I think it was Metro, and we buy, typically we go off the best price there. Again, it's price per quantity, and I can't met.
In regards to asphalt, it's availability. In a lot of places, it just wasn't available.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Sir? No other questions, concerns, comments? Vote, please.
Wood? Yes. Thompson?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley? Yes. Mackey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to item number 4. A rezoning request for Bonner Crossing, BSZ 142. Staff.
Rachel Klein, City Planner. This is a request to rezone approximately 165 acres in an area southwest of the intersection of 118th and State Avenue. This was heard at a public hearing before the Planning Commission on May the 21st, and it received a unanimous vote of 5-0. Staff also recommended approval to the Planning Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have about that. That might be easier than reading 4 paragraphs about it. It's a currently AG. The request is to go to mixed use, which is MX. AG is ag. And you might not have seen it yet because it hasn't been sent to you. This is part of a plat that is currently, the preliminary plat has passed, the final plat is coming up. And in order to make the project happen, MX is the appropriate zoning designation. There's also zoning, the land use map in the comprehensive plan recommends mixed use for this area as well.
Very good. All right, thank you. Anything else from the staff?
Only if you have questions.
All right, thank you. Citizens?
Public hearing at the Planning Commission.
I had a public hearing at the Planning Commission, so we'll move on to the City Council. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve an ordinance to rezone approximately 165 acres of the Bonner Springs Crossing subdivision from A1 Agricultural District to MX Mixed Use District.
Second.
Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start over here. Sir?
I know we're still early in the process, since this is just a rezoning, but I do want to kind of put this concern out there, is that the Mission Creek downstream has been an issue. I know a lot of the residents downstream suffered when development, I don't think, was properly placed east of them. And they've had issues with water, especially on medium to large rain events, and I was just making sure that this is going to be taken into account, any potential runoff, so we don't cause any more headache to those neighbors.
Absolutely. The applicant's already submitted a draft of the stormwater and, of course, the full stormwater prevention plan, change permit, notice of intent, all of that. They know, and I'm confident they'll present it in time.
Great. That's it.
Are the applicants present for this?
I saw them out in the hallway earlier.
I represent one of the tract owners.
Okay. I was curious to ask the applicants if they've talked to Bob Lilich any, so that we don't have another instance of what happened earlier.
He actually spoke at Mr. Lilich spoke at the Planning Commission meeting and raised his concerns about his pond. And I believe the applicant responded that there would be an openness, not directly towards his property, but towards the park, and stated for the room that whatever concerns needed to be discussed to ensure the safety on the integrity of the land would definitely be looked at when they got closer to the south and nearer his property.
So all the area surrounding property owners were notified of this rezoning,
Yes,
and were any of them opposed?
I did not receive any phone calls of opposition.
Thank you. Roger? Nothing else? No other concerns? Seeing none, vote please.
Mackey?
Yes.
Wood? Yes. Thompson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Thank you. Stevens?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Shannon? Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
On to special use permit number 143, a concert pavilion at State Avenue and Speedway Boulevard. Staff?
This would explain why the 180 acres is only rezoned for 165. Approximately 15-acre portion of the, what is to be called the Donner Crossing subdivision is seeking a special use permit for a concert pavilion. It is approximately between 14 and 15,000 seats, half of which are outdoors and can be, of course, used in the good times, or should be the good weather. And inside the, I think it's 7,800 seats. In order to have the concert pavilion under the land use of auditorium and exhibition halls, requires that the zoning designation be A1 or C2. So that's why the applicant chose not to rezone the entire parcel or all of the properties, leaving out the nugget for the concert pavilion. That's what the special use permit is requested for. And there are conditions listed on there. They are fairly typical in that they are, once it's there, it's valid as perpetuity, and expires if the operation ceases, and of course that the permit can be revoked if the governing body determines there's a violation to the municipal code. But again, public hearing, May 21st at the planning commission meeting. They voted unanimously to recommend approval to the governing body for SUP 143.
Very good, thank you. Anything to add by staff? Other staff, I'm sorry? Stand for questions? Is that applicant? No? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve an ordinance granting SUP-143 to allow a concert pavilion at the intersection of State Avenue and Speedway Boulevard.
Second.
Moving in second, questions, concerns, comments? We'll start over here, sir.
Do you know how this will work with Providence Medical Center amphitheater?
Yes, from what I understand, the land use designation for the concert pavilion is actually different than what the amphitheater is. It also requires the ag, but it's actually a different land use. And I know that the applicant wanted to ensure that they weren't thought to be in competition.
Okay.
This does have the outdoor seating, which is available, but the construction of the pavilion as part of a arts and media campus, which we'll get to eventually, is definitely different, both in certain types of music. I think this is a little bit larger venue and year-round.
Okay, thank you.
Sir? Ma'am? Sir? Ma'am?
Not this time.
Thank you.
None here? Nothing else? Vote please.
Gurley?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
On to item number 6, special use permit number 144 for the event center at 611 West 2nd Street. Staff.
Again, at this public hearing that we had on May 21st with the planning commission, the field house had brought forth an application for special use permits for the very same thing, the auditorium and exhibition halls land use, which in this case would be used as an event center. It's the same land use and name that the farms that within roads use, so staff is trying to be consistent with that. The fuel house has been plugging along, and you've seen this and that from them, and this will allow them to hold weddings, wedding receptions, whatever type of special event. There was some concern originally about fire suppression. That's in the process. The city has put it, or is putting in a line, and the applicant has already made, has a bid and a contract ready for a fire suppression system. So I believe that as soon as possible, they'll be ready to go, and staff and the planning commission recommend approval for this SCP 134.
Thank you. There was a public hearing on this item as well?
Yes, there was on May the 21st.
Very good, thank you. Any other additional staff input? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve an ordinance to allow special use permit for an event center located at 611 West 2nd Street.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. We'll start over here this time, sir.
Tonight, we're talking about, authorizing the special use permit. I assume, is there anything in it that specifically says it cannot be granted, will not take effect until the fire suppression system is in place?
No, it won't. If approved, the ordinance publishes on the Thursday, I think, following. There's nothing in the specific use permit about that. The applicant is aware that the fire suppression is required, and the city had not been able to, I guess, maybe you can help me out here, Sean, the fire suppression requirements before couldn't be met with the existing lines.
Right, correct.
Okay, you guys are.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So to answer your question directly, there's nothing in the SUP that states that the applicant has.
But since it's part of city ordinance, the SUP could be pulled if
Absolutely.
they fail. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there arrangements being made for additional parking, hard surface parking?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was out there, I guess that was last week, and the owners were showing exactly where the hard surface was going to go down, and it's a matter of waiting for the ground to be a little bit drier and for the product to be brought in. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions or concerns? Vote, please.
Thompson?
Yes.
Wood? Yes. Reeves?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Curley? Yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. On to our reports this evening. Our first report, city manager report.
Just started off with a bang, discharging fireworks. Ready to pick that one up. City ordinance permits the discharge of fireworks on July 3rd and 4th between the hours of 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. So just remember that as you're celebrating. Also wanted to note Tiblo Days, going back to their typical sort of schedule, will be August 22nd to the 24th. I've also included in the report the Chamber's link to that website for anybody that wants to register as a vendor or just to see the series of events. Along the festive theme as well, City Band Concert has started off. And also want to note the Patriotic Band Concert will be on June 29th, starting at 8:30. Typically, I think the fireworks start at about 9:30, thereabouts. So come out, enjoy an ice cream social, and then also enjoy the band of 85 different members of the community. And then also want to thank Parks and Rec, Justine, the Bonner Springs Arts Alliance. They had a art walk for heroes at North Park on Saturday morning to honor the military and first responders with the monument installation there. I couldn't get my 3-year-old to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance that day, but we're working on that. So, but with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We'll start with city council items. Sir, Roger.
The Art Alliance has really done a lot for our community and continue to do so. Would be commended.
I wanted to put out a guess, a memorial request or some sort of day dedication for Angelo Nino. Had a lot of random, weird, crazy days for council meetings since April 8th or close to that point. If we could possibly do something like a dedication day of his birthday or something for his family. Because another just his Masonic rites funeral, and it'd be kind of cool if we could recognize what he helped our community do for Kiwanis and some of the other areas. Another thing that I wanted to give kudos to our staff was Sean Tilley, Paul Barrett with UVT for working together and having good fiscal use of our funds. I guess Paul's bank, UVT, had created a special product for us and for cities to be able to put our funds into while we were doing the project, and they collateralized it. Until they got together with Paul, and they did all the proper crazy paperwork stuff with it, and were able to get our funds making money from day one, which I thought was pretty cool. Thought I would throw my kudos. So thank you guys.
I'll be as quick as I can on this, but I do want to take time to mention what has been going on here. If y'all pass those out, the staff, y'all have all of your copies. Did you get? And I have some extra copies if other people would like to have them. What this is I have been liaisoning with the local pastors. They've tried to reform what used to be called the Ministers Alliance, but it's just Ministers Fellowship. And what they're doing is trying to come together and look at, first of all, just fellowship among themselves with the work that they go through, but also looking at how they get involved in the community. So how the congregation gets involved in the community, but also the communication between the city and the congregations. The Christian Church had an interim pastor that had a project that he has done over several different places where he has served. And it's a community needs assessment survey. And they completed this needs assessment survey, and I wanted to at least make the public aware of this. I'm not going to read all of it. It's really well put together. If you would, I'm going to just highlight a couple of things. If you look at page 1, this assessment was done by the Bond Spring Edwardsville Ministerial Fellowship in order with these following objectives in mind: to discover community needs. Now, the lady was mentioning about community involvement and helping when there's a crisis. This is what this is about. To discover community needs and opportunities for congregational and individual service. To produce an up-to-date written report on community needs and opportunities for congregational service in the Bonner Springs, Edwardsville area that can be distributed to ministerial fellowship participants, community leaders, and others. Others means anybody that, even if you don't go to one of the churches in the community. To affirm, and this is important, I think, to affirm the work of community leaders and their organizations and build positive relationships with them. To strengthen connections between congregations and between congregations and the community. So with the congregations, but also with them as a group to the community. Now, from a congregational standpoint, what these community needs can be translated into is ministry outreach programs. But it's also a way for them to become involved in the community, also communications, and it's a group coming together. I asked the gentleman about this is where I can call and take names of people that can't clear their yards, people that need help. Codes, when we enforce codes, they do find people that are unable to support themselves, do not make enough money for certain things with their yards. Snow Angels is one of the things that are being done in our community as a way to help. There were 3 questions that were asked. There were teams that went around from the churches, and they talked to all the community leaders, and there's a list of all the people that were talked to in here, a list of all the people that did the interviews. They asked 3 questions. How would you describe your work of your organization? What are the current needs and concerns of your organization, and what can a church, a group of churches, or an individual volunteer do to help? Then you can, on your own, look at the rest of this in here. But if you'll turn to page, page 8 starts, there's different sections on who did the interviewing, what they interviewed. But here's personal, now they've listed the needs. Now here's these sections, personal reflection and action. Where do we start? Well, we have a meeting Wednesday with the ministers, and we are in the process of just starting this. This is just being kicked off, and it's going to go to the congregations. But what I want to make a point here is no matter what a person does, big or small, it will make a difference. And that's one of the things that I think is important in our community in coming together. So there's the first section is personal reflection and action. So what it does is you prayerfully look, or you reflectively look at these needs, and where can you help? Where can the churches help? See, each of those people are going to do that. And then the second group is congregational discernment. So those congregations will be taking a look at this and plugging in where they feel like they can. Multi-congregational discernment. In other words, congregations coming together. And then the other is individuals. So you don't have to be part of the congregation. And the last thing I'll read is this last paragraph, community organizations and use of this report. The information included here will lead not only to fresh congregational initiatives, but also to ever more satisfying, productive relationships among community organizations. So it's to help everybody. It's involvement with the whole city. The project has revealed overlapping needs and concerns, which in turn suggests that there remains untapped potential for interagency cooperation. No doubt local organizations and congregations will continue to find new ways and effective ways to serve the community. What this report does, it doesn't let anybody off the hook. It shows how anybody can serve within their community. And that's one of the things as we as a country become more divisive, we need to come together more as a community. And I'm not going to get preaching here, but life is about relationships. And as we relate as a community, this is where the community, we receive our well-being. And so these are concerns that we have. So this is how everybody can tap in, not only just community leaders or just the congregations. Thank you for the time. And it's really a neat thing that the ministers are doing. Like I said, I do not pastor a church here. I'm a retired Army chaplain. So that works out well that I can liaison between the city and with them. And so if there are needs of people in need, you can call me, Mike Thompson. I'm not the weatherman, but I can guess it's as good as you can.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and you answered all my questions before the meeting.
And if there are any of these left over, I'll take them with me. But if not, please keep them.
Is this available electronically? Or may I take it apart and scan it?
You can take it apart and scan it, but I can see if I think it is electronically.
Fabulous. Only thing I want to do is plug our farmers market Saturday mornings, 8 to 12, right?
Yes.
Everybody needs to make a point of coming down and checking out all these vendors, keep them in business. It's a huge thing for our city.
And it didn't rain last Saturday.
I have nothing additional to add this evening.
Mike, on this organizations like Blonde Trent, they've already been connected with this, so forth. Thank you.
Everybody, there's a list of everybody that they talk to. Von Trent, everybody. Mayor, just talk to everyone. City manager.
Great.
And it really is a neat project.
Nothing else.
Yes, I have to thank you, Mike, for taking a big part in this community needs assessment, but also I wanted to thank Pastor Greg Hunt and Pastor Andy Frazier, who facilitated this project. So we have a
community survey that we had based a lot of the priorities of the city of Bonner Springs on. The needs of the community was assessed by this community needs assessment. And they reached out to just about every single group or activity in Bonner Springs. From the NAACP to the Senior Center to Von Trent to all the churches to the cities to Edwardsville organizations to the mayors. I was interviewed as well as was glad to help interview. So this was a collaborative group effort, and I think it pointed to a lot of our strengths, one of the as well as the weaknesses. One of the things that has happened over the recent past, Bonner Springs has a great history of being very strong in volunteer work. We've had volunteers play a major part in Bonner Springs for generations. And I think one of the weaknesses that was indicated was the ability for communication. It pointed to the big impact that we had when we lost the weekly printed newspaper. We now have a new newspaper that is gaining foothold, and it points to how valuable that is, as well as the other modern technological advances that we may not take as much advantage of as what we think. One brief example of that I can make, I love pancakes and enjoy being invited to pancake days. But 3 pancake days in Bonner Springs on one Saturday morning might be too much. So I'm working really hard to keep that off. But having a place to where different church groups, different city groups, different civic organizations could go and see what the long-range calendar says for their own planning might be able to help everyone do what they want to do more efficiently. And before, you had that newspaper sitting on your countertop where you left it because you knew you wanted to go to that spaghetti dinner, pancake dinner, whatever. Or, oh yeah, I saw that the Christian church one is always on whatever. So those are things that we need to integrate into our future, how we continue to volunteer and work together collaboratively. So I can't thank you and the ministerial fellowship enough, as well as all those that participated, the time that the city put into it, Parks and Rec, and all the different groups, so, and the Tidlow Talk as well.
I just wanted to point out, on my website, tidlowtalk.com, which is not as good as bonnersprings.com, but I can't get the rates. I pay for calendar software that allows people to submit events directly to it. So it pulls from Parks and Rec, the library, the city, like everything is there that I can get just off the website. But if there's an organization that wants to put things on there, it automatically tweets it out and posts it, it does all that good stuff.
That's what I want to, that's what we all need to support one place or one main place where it all goes.
So it's not the best, but it's what we got. So I'm working.
Buy a subscription to his newspaper.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, get your subscription.
And the farmer's market. Best gluten-free bread. Other kinds of bread too, but.
So, Mayor, just for the folks that voiced concerns, what's a reasonable amount of timeline to allow the council to assess and to get back?
I don't have an answer for you on that.
Okay.
I'll be able to get back to you with information as I
Okay.
go.
So is there some way that we can either leave his information or somebody that he can check with?
Please.
Okay.
Just, you can leave it with me or the city clerk or the city manager.
Okay.
Contact information, please.
Because I don't think you want us just continually coming in here, 2-3 weeks, I mean, if there's progress happening behind the scenes, we'd like to understand what that is and cooperate as well.
I want to get your needs met as best we can.
Sure.
You're welcome back here anytime.
Okay.
I did want to make mention of a concern that was brought to my attention as well as some others. The condition of Metropolitan between 138th and 142nd, we've received complaints
on the surface of that road has deteriorated and should be reconsidered or reevaluated. I don't know what the priority or what issue that will raise it to, but that's an area that we should look at. Potholes are really bad. The repairs are really bad. So, yeah, and with the weather, it hasn't helped any of us out. Brian, you made mention of thanking all the emergency services for the work that they did. I absolutely agree. Our city emergency services, the Public Works Department, which you're intimately knowledgeable of, was tasked with a team of being first responders to respond with EMS and police after the storm event. So that level of cooperation is something that is improving all the time.
They did a tremendous job, really did.
I appreciate that, and I think you're right. This started almost 2 weeks ago tomorrow night, and we're in one of the safest areas of the entire city right here. We're also very insulated. We could not tell what was happening here until you went outside. So.
Okay. Should have gotten those text messages again.
Yeah, they finally started coming through. The rest of the concerns that were addressed as a part of the citizens' concerns, I'll be contacting those people and getting that information back out. Unless anyone else has a question for me, I was honored to be able to give a speech at the Arts Alliance Heroes Walk. The art displays there were exceptional. The local artists had their wares for sale, and it's just amazing how the limited amount of traveling I've done and comparing the art and the things that are available here to other places. They don't have anything on the artists here in Bonner Springs. It's just exceptional. So please support your local artists as well as your face painters. Is that what you're saying? No, face painters. Also, the Memorial Day celebration we had at the cemetery on Memorial Day was quite an honor. I'd like to tell the city how much I appreciated how nice the grounds at the cemetery looked. Just almost to a person. I was complimented, and it's humbling to me to be involved both professionally and then as mayor of Bonner Springs in the condition of the city cemetery and how well that program went on. So thank you all very much. I also had an opportunity to meet with the Wyandotte and Johnson County Council mayors. We discussed the end of the legislative season session and the impacts it had. Very, very little impact. They got very small amount of things done. Very minute changes as to the tax lid, but it continues to be refined, and we're apprised of that. Other than that, I stand for any questions that anyone may have for me. Please.
Now that school's out, I want to make sure everybody is aware, because there's so many kids that are at home during the day. The school district does have a free summer meals program. You know, people who can benefit from it. 18 and under eat free breakfast and lunch if they need it. At the PE center in between the high school and middle school, or at they serve both meals. At South Park Shelter or Community Building, they serve lunch. Totally free. Adults can eat for $3.95 a piece. We just need to make sure that our kids are fed in the summertime.
Very good. And junior and senior high kids can also play in the city band.
Yes, please.
And come enjoy
every Thursday night.
Right
here at 7 o'clock.
Practice is here at 7 o'clock. The ice cream social starts at 8. Band at 8:30 down at City Park.
See, there's great entertainment, then there's you and I.
Oh, no, there's really below average entertainment and great band concerts. We stand adjourned.